Hi all, I've missed seeing you. The question is, can we still learn together in this environment? Um, I don't know, but let's try, right? Let's try to learn some stuff. As you know, I changed the schedule to just include some of the more interesting things. This is stuff I study. This is stuff I'm passionate about. I think this is a super cool topic. So let's go for it. What I'll do this week is, we've already talked about this a little bit in email, and I'll remind you, you're going to watch Paris is Burning. I provided a link for that, and do some response to it in small groups that I put you in. And then I'm going to, then there's a little lecture on camp, what camp is and performativity, why I'm asking you to watch Paris is Burning, how it relates to contemporary pop culture. And then I'll give you an opportunity again to practice that in your small groups. At this point, I'm trying to grade as much as possible, just pass, fail. So just try, just get involved, watch some things. I promise you this will be, how do I put it? Of all the topics you're doing, this is probably one of the more relaxing or deflecting or something that makes us not think about the coronavirus right now. So I highly encourage you to just go down the rabbit hole and enjoy some of these videos this week as a break to everything that's going on. Of course, I understand if you're completely, everything's crazy, that's likely to be true as well. As for my own health, some days I'm getting better and some days I'm about to die of pneumonia, so who knows. But I'm taking a Z-Pack now just in case, and hopefully I'll be less out of breath in this than I was in the last one. So let's talk about instructions real quick. Okay, so last week or last 2 weeks or whenever the fuck this happened, we started to talk about third wave feminism, and the thing that differentiates third wave feminism from the earlier waves is this is less about political and it's more about culture now. This is where COMS comes to life, right? There's traditional rhetoric, the giving speeches, the go out and protesting, but then there's also the COMS, the rhetoric of how do we create meaning? Why does culture matter? Why does fashion matter? Why does music matter? All of these things. So to me, this is a very exciting phase of study. So this week's topic is camp and performativity. And I'll tell you more about this the next one. But first, stop and do this activity. So activity 1, Paris is Burning. This is a documentary that came out in 1990. And it was filmed in the mid to late 80s in New York City. So all kinds of fun historicalness to it. It's a documentary about drag balls. It has, what do I want to say? There's controversy around it. It was a white lesbian director filming primarily poor gay men of color. Some people felt exploited by it. They felt that she focused too much on the negatives and on the positives. And yet it's one of those, what do I want to say? It's one of those like canonical texts that to critique it, you at least have to watch it. Now, they describe themselves as primarily about poor gay men of color. You will see in the documentary several people that today we would clearly identify as trans. And you will see some people today that I don't know where we'd identify, right? Some of the characters or character people, real life people in this film are clearly trans, and others just consider themselves drag queens. Some of them even have breasts, but don't consider themselves trans. It was more complicated and in between and messy in the 80s and 90s, and I have to say, kind of liked it, right? It was queer, and you didn't have to label and identify quite as binary as we are now. It's like we're willing to accept trans as long as you're either trans or not trans. And this time was a lot more queer. So all you have to do for this, watch this documentary and in your small groups, talk about who was your favorite character and or your favorite category, because the balls had categories. This is your basic question. What stood out to you? What do you remember? What caught your attention? Who caught your attention? And then describe a quote or a scene, you can paraphrase, as to why they consider performance to be empowering. So last set of lectures was all about how representation is awful for women. It's the worst thing happening to women. We need, more serious representation. And this move is more about representation can be fun. Performance can be fun. Dressing up can be fun. It can enable things. It can empower things. It can destabilize things. And that's what I want you to think about first. So I would recommend go watch this first and then come back and watch the lecture about camp.